get into our top stories for this hour. Users are at risk of kidney dysfunction, respiratory problems, seizures, coma, and can even shut down internal organs. That's how deadly Tramadol is. And now the FDA says Ghanaians are abusing this drug in their thousands. So far, more than 500,000 tablets have been seized in swoops in parts of the country, and the Food and Drugs Authority says the situation is now at a crisis point. Yes, it's called Tramadol. Today, the FDA has stepped up its clampdown on illegal sale and use of Tramadol. In the Ashanti region, capital Kumasi, the authorities have referred 21 over-the-counter chemical sellers to the Pharmacy Council for stocking and selling high doses of Tramadol. The authorities' action is in response to what it says is the abuse of the medicine that's used to treat moderate to severe pain. The drug actually is supposed to be dispensed with a prescription, but it is now being sold openly. To regulate its sale, the authorities have seized that 4,000 tablets that are actually beyond the registered dose of 100 milligrams in that region. We'll hear from the Pharmacy Council shortly. But first, take a look at what ensued when the FDA went onto the street today. Erastus Asaridonko has been monitoring this for us.
To ensure public safety, FDA officers undertook market surveillance in 84 shops comprising 50 over-the-counter shops and 34 pharmacy shops within the region. Of the 50 OTCs, 21 of them stocked Tramadol and other medicines that they are not supposed to stock. The ones they stocked were even above the approved dosages. In Ghana, Tramadol is only approved in 50 and 100 milligram doses. What we have found 120 milligram and we have found 225 milligram, which are not approved, which means that they have not been registered for use in our country. It was also observed that some pharmacy shops sold the drugs to officers without a prescription, which is also against the practice or the requirement, because these are prescription-only medicines, and so they must be sold with a prescription. And we are advising the general public and especially operators in the drug industry to respect the regulations that govern all our activities. Tramadol was also found to be available in the open market in very high doses. That is, you find the 225 and the 120 on the open market, where peddlers are carrying it around and are selling to unsuspecting public. Though the FDA has registered 50 milligram and 100 milligram doses, our investigation have revealed that there were, like I said, 120 milligram and 225 milligrams that are being sold in the region, and this is of great concern. So we would be intensifying our activities within the region as we have started, and we are assuring the public that the Food and Drugs Authority, together with our stakeholders, are working hard to ensure that this problem is brought under control.
Well, that's the officer in charge of the exercise at the FDA in the Ashanti region there. We've been speaking to people about the use of Tramadol. Here's what they say.
Came to the system, some decided to take it, and those who have tried and have recommended to their friends, and now it has spread to the whole general public. Every drug has its side effects, but actually I don't know the side effects, but it's good they take it out. If it's a drug, I mean, first they said it's good for us to use it, but if they say it's not good for us to use, then maybe it's good to take it out of the system.
I know guys who are taking it and then they are behaving abnormally. So I think if it is banned, it is really good.
The youth are using now, and it's more or less, maybe I don't know whether it's a stimulant or like a booster or something, but I know they're using with codeine and stuff. Honestly, drugstores are selling it.
It's a
like
painkiller. It's a painkiller.
Yeah.
So do you think it should be banned?
Well, honestly, no. I think they can do something about it as to it should be sold to persons who have prescriptions for it and stuff, but as in being banned at all, because it has health benefits as well, but too much of using it also has some deteriorating factors.
I think it should actually be banned because Tramadol as a whole, it came initially as a drug to actually help people, as in boost the immune systems of people. But you realize that now people are actually abusing it. It's been named to be what? Narcotics, as in like analgesics. And then, it is just similar to opioids. And then initially when it came, people were actually supposed to use it for, as in like to relieve pains that they've actually having. But now you realize that people are actually misusing them, where it's also known as what, drug abuse. And then so far as a drug is being abused, naturally it isn't good for the human body.
Everybody should be educated on how well to use the Tramadol. When you need it, you take it. When you don't use it at all. And they should, any people, those manufacturing it, to help minimize the dosage. That is, if depending on the particular sickness that is going to handle.
My little research I made, I realized that it makes the user high. So if it makes the user high, it should be banned. Just like cocaine, I learned the side effects are so outrageous, so it should be banned.
It should be banned. Because obviously, when you look around, all those guys would, taking, and then I see it or I hear now is an aphrodisiac. That's what the guys use. And as a matter of fact, after that, it makes them weak. Leading them to not doing something for their own self. If they don't depend on it, then they are not going to do something better. So I think it should be banned, since it's disturbing.
Various thoughts there that people have in that sharing. I have in the studio with me Sebastian Maoli Hoto. He's Principal Regulatory Officer at the FDA. Let's have a very quick chat with him. So thank you very much for coming. But a lot of people have seen what FDA does. Sometimes you go on a swoop and you get the drugs and they go out, but we do know that we still find some of the drugs on the market. Are you looking to, first of all, let me find out what the FDA, how the FDA assesses what has been done today in the Ashanti region and whether it will be replicated across the country.
Thank you very much. What has been done today is a major operation, and on Friday we had a similar operation in Accra, around Domi, Kisaman, Achimota, Aveno, and Kwame Nkrumah Circle. And it's going to be replicated all across the country. But this one is more of a major swoop, an operation. But our routine activities allow us to go onto the market on a daily basis as part of our post-market surveillance activities. Yes, so the big swoops and the operations will be replicated throughout the country as and when we get intelligence from the police as to where we have alarming rates of abuse and quantities. But then our routine activities would continue. And we'll just intensify them because of the crisis at hand.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I'd like to find out whether in this day of innovation and IT technology, etc., whether or not the FDA is considering, if you don't already have a system that sort of in collaboration with the Pharmacy Council will help you track some of these. But let me go to Kumasi, where Erastus Asare-Donkor, who followed the FDA in the region, who went on the swoop to seize all of these drugs, has been following them. Erastus, tell us what the reaction has been. I mean, we've heard here in Accra, we've spoken to some people who think, some of them think it should be banned, some of them think that, well, maybe they're just saying it for, because they're on camera. But Erastus, tell us, what do people in Kumasi think about the use of the drug and what the FDA has done now?
Well, those who do not use this drug, they do not know what is going on, because I have spoken to people who think that, well, this is a painkiller. I used one. It has been prescribed to me before, 50 milligrams. And so what is the beef about this whole thing? And so they are asking the questions about whether it's a narcotic drug, whether it's being combined with other substances. And that's a general confusion. But those who use it know what it does to them. And some as young as 15. I met a boy at the Jiso who used Tramadol, and he is 15, and he tells me that it gives him vim. It gives him a certain level of euphoria, and it makes him happy. If he wants to do something, learn or whatever, it gives him the vim to do that. Though those feelings have not been substantiated. And so there is a general confusion about what the drug does. Some do combine energy drink with it. Some do combine alcohol with it. And all those strike a different kind of feeling in them. And they know what it does for them. And that is why they use it.
Well, besides that, I'm hearing from the FDA representative here in the studio that this is going to be replicated across the country in the Ashanti region, and this was done in Kumasi. Are they doing it in any other parts of the Ashanti region, or is this what someone will call the 9 days wonder?
Well, as I've spoken with the FDA, in fact, they intend to carry it along. It's not one day they want to get into the system. Now they've covered about 84 districts and 84 shops, I must say. They have other shops, other districts, about 32 districts in the Ashanti region. They want to cover all of them to be able to go into the different shops to find out over-the-counter shops that are selling this prescription-only drug.
Okay.
And so what is so dangerous is the fact that it's being peddled openly on the open market. You have people who sell paracetamol and other things on tables and things in the market who are selling some of these drugs, which is a prescription drug. That is what makes it dangerous. And it's not expensive. One tablet, for instance, is one sachet, I would say, of tablets. It contains about 6 or so tablets, cost about 3 cedis. Wow. And so you can imagine it's so accessible, people sell it openly, and that is what makes it dangerous. So they intend to clamp down on it going forward.
And that's where the FDA comes in. Erastus, thank you so much for that update there. Let me come to you, Mr. Hoto. You've heard what Erastus says. It's easily accessible, not very expensive. In fact, it's not expensive at all. I mean, if you're, depending on how much you earn, you could say it's expensive, but it's 3 cedis, relatively not inexpensive, and being sold on tabletops, for example, a prescription drug. What is happening? How is the FDA going to deal with this?
We are on the field, like he said. Prescription drugs are not supposed to be sold around except in pharmacies, and so for it to be around anywhere for the public to access it is very sad. Isn't that
a failure of the FDA that this is happening in the first place, wouldn't you say?
A failure will be an unfair word to use for us, because we are always at our jobs. We are making sure that the right thing is being done on the field. The only thing is that we will need a lot of we've realized that the work is not for only FDA. We cannot do it all alone because we don't have the numbers. That is why we are doing a lot of collaboration now. We are collaborating with Pharmacy Council. They have more men on the ground, and their numbers are more. We are collaborating with Ghana Police Service. They have more men on the ground. And we are collaborating with the National Commission on Civic Education to intensify the education so that people get to know about the harmful effects, and then they don't even initiate themselves into using it, let alone getting addicted to it and having the problem.
Right, so it's also addictive. Now, speaking of which, let's use this platform to try and educate some people then. What are the real uses, apart from being a pain relief drug? What else does it do? From what a lot of people are saying, there's a focus on its sexual enhancement abilities.
Yes, it's unfortunate in Ghana here, anything that is aphrodisiac gets a lot of attention. But Tramadol is just basically a painkiller. It's a man-made narcotic painkiller, which is used to treat moderate to severe pains. And
that's all it does?
That's all it does. And it's supposed to be done under supervision from a medical officer, qualified medical officer. And
so that's what the drug is used for.
Exactly.
But is it true by the testing or per the testing of the FDA that it has sexual enhancement capacities? And if it does, what is the FDA doing about it? Is it a matter of we having to reach out to the manufacturers to perhaps have a look at it again? Is that a possibility?
That aspect of the drug is not a beneficial aspect of it. It's probably a short-term benefit that eventually would destroy you. It damages your brain.
So let's look at the process. What is it that makes people? I don't know if you'll be able to explain that to us, but what is it in the drug? What does it do to you? Because if I'm taking it for headache, am I still supposed to feel all of that? What does it really do? How does it work on the human brain, on the body?
Like a lot of narcotics, it has the ability to probably stimulate your serotonin, and works on the brain, the receptors. But its main purpose or duty is to what do you call it? Work on the receptors in the brain and suppress your feeling of pain. So those other things that come with it are just short-lived and are not useful, because those ones end up destroying you.
So if you don't have headache and you take the drug, it will still work on your senses anyway, but it will leave you with a side effect. Does it mean that if you have the headache and you take it, you'll still have the side effects?
Once it hasn't been seen, you haven't been diagnosed to be seen to need it, then it means that if you use it in your body, it is an abuse, and therefore then the harmful effects are sure to harm you.
Tell us about the harmful effects for those who are watching, so they can learn.
There are so many of these harmful effects. It's from dizziness to nausea, vomiting. It depresses your respiratory system. It can cause liver diseases. It can even cause impotence in the long run, infertility. It could make you get seizures, convulsion. It could even lead to your death. You fall into coma, you could die. It causes infertility as well. So you would see that the fact that such a drug can even cause impotence. And here's the case, people are claiming that it is for aphrodisiac properties.
But
so you see that that's a long-term effect.
So it has a long-term effect. So in the short term, it will work on your senses, just as it's supposed to work on the senses of anybody feeling pain, real pain, who need it. It will work on your senses. But then if you're using it without any pain, you're using it so it will work on your senses.
Without supervision
from a health official,
a qualified medical officer.
Then you are inviting all sorts of health problems for yourself. Let's finally look at the extent of which the use of this drug has spread across the country. A lot of people have been talking about it. In fact, it's been trending on social media, and you could even be scared that the way it's trending, even though we're talking about the negative aspect, might even make a lot of people aware of it and start to use it. Does the FDA has any statistics or any knowledge as to how widespread the abuse of this drug is in this country?
We are in the process of doing a research to actually get the extent of abuse, which is the usage and the abuse of this tramadol, including codeine containing cough syrups, which is also being abused. The extent of abuse, it's widespread now. It's at alarming rate. It's all over in all the regions, and it's a matter of concern. And therefore, we are asking all and sundry, media and parents. Parents should be very, very vigilant with their children on what drugs they take. You should always verify what your child is taking at every point in time. School authorities, house mistresses, house masters, church leaders. Let's all try and educate the youth and tell them that you don't need to do drugs to become a hero, so that we can be able to control this and mitigate the menace once and for all.
I really wish that we had a lot more time to go into this. But the question that I wanted to ask before we went to Erastus was whether or not, whilst you work at the research, is there any IT innovation that you're looking at that could perhaps, in collaboration with the Pharmacy Council, that could help you maybe track? Is that possible?
Yes, that is very possible. It is an option we are seriously looking at. Our chief executive really has that at on her heart, and she's working with management assiduously to be able to come out with something like that that can be able to help us do a very effective tracking.
Okay.
So
All right, I want you to do this very final thing for me. We'll play back the box. We spoke to some people. We've played that already, but I want you to just pay a little bit more attention to it whilst we play so that you can respond to it. Maybe those who are speaking in that box are listening. Watch this.
Tramadol came to the system. Some decided to take it, and those who have tried and have recommended to their friends, and now it has spread to the whole general public. Every drug has its side effects. But actually, I don't know the side effects, but it's good they take it. If it's a drug, I mean, first they said it's good for us to use it. But if they say it's not good for us to use, then maybe it's good we take it out of the system.
I know guys who are taking it and then they are behaving abnormally. So I think if it is banned, it is really good.
The youth are using now, and it's more or less, maybe I don't know whether it's a stimulant or like a booster or something, but I know they're using with codeine and stuff. Honestly, drugstores are selling it.
It's a
like
painkiller. It's a painkiller.
Yeah.
So do you think it should be banned?
Well, honestly, no. I think they can do something about it as to it should be sold to persons who have prescriptions for it and stuff, but as in being banned at all, because it has health benefits as well, but too much of using it also has some deteriorating factors.
I think it should actually be banned because Tramadol as a whole, it came initially as a drug to actually help people, as in boost the immune systems of people. But you realize that now people are actually abusing it. It's been named to be what? Narcotics, as in like analgesics. And then, it is just similar to opioids. And then initially when it came, people were actually supposed to use it for, as in like to relieve pains that they've actually having. But now you realize that people are actually misusing them, where it's also known as what, drug abuse. And then so far as a drug is being abused, naturally it isn't good for the human body.
Everybody should be educated on how well to use the Tramadol. When you need it, you take it. When you don't use it at all. And they should, any people, I mean, those manufacturing it to help minimize the dosage. That is, if depending on the particular sickness that is going to handle.
My little research I made, I realized that it makes the user high. So if it makes the user high, it should be banned. Like just like cocaine, I learned the side effects are so outrageous, so it should be banned.
It should be banned. Because obviously, when you look around, all those guys would, taking, and then I see it or I hear now is an aphrodisiac. That's what the guys use. And as a matter of fact, after that, it makes them weak. Leading them to not doing something for their own self. If they don't depend on it, then they are not going to do something better. So I think it should be banned, since it's disturbing.
It should be banned. Is the FDA considering that? I mean, react to what they've been saying.
Anything is possible. We haven't reached the stage of ban. I want to just correct this notion that Tramadol is not a bad drug. It's good and useful if it's used under supervision from a qualified medical personnel.
Okay.
It only becomes a problem when it is abused. And so let's all get this thing right. So it's not necessarily about the ban. We've intensified education. We've gone to marketplaces. We've gone to transport terminals, beaches, pubs and restaurants. We've been all over, and we are trying to get people to realize the harmful effects so that they don't continue to, or they don't even go near it. And we are believing that this education, if we are able to empower the public about the knowledge of it, then they would realize that their health is not something to be toyed with, for them to give their health into the hands of peddlers. Peddlers are non-professionals. They don't know anything about drugs. And yet they come and sell drugs to people, and people just buy them with their money, hard-earned money. I think that shouldn't be the case. If you need drugs, if you have problems, you have pain, go to a facility, a hospital, medical facility. We have nurses, we have doctors, we have pharmacists, we have a lot of health professionals in those facilities, pharmacies, over-the-counter medicine sellers, and hospitals who can help you to take care of your health, so that you don't put your health at the risk of peddlers. Right. I think that is not the best.
It's not the best. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon.
Thank you.
I wish the FDA all the best, and I hope that we'll be learning something from this. It has long-term effects, and we're even looking at death in this instance, so you should be well advised. It might give you a short, very short-lived excitement, but it has a long-term side effects that could lead to your death. All right. I've been speaking to Sebastian Mauli Hoto. He is the principal regulatory officer with the FDA.